Welcome to r/relationships. Today we have another two stories. One involves a person who woke up from a 2-year coma to find life has changed a lot. The other has to do with a couple dealing with huge family drama. If you enjoy this content, like and subscribe. Thank you. Let's do this thing. Story number 1. Husband, 26 male, initiated our separation because I, 26 female, gave my sister, 23 female, money and now he's angry I moved out of our marital home. I've been estranged from my family ever since I got married to my husband, so about 4 years. Although our relationship was rocky before that. Both of our families have hated each other for a long time, for a reason unrelated to our relationship, and they thought by dating and marrying my husband, I had committed the ultimate betrayal/humiliation, so they disowned me. A few months ago, my sister reached out to beg me to give her money so she could leave her abusive boyfriend. According to her, our family adored him, and were refusing to help her, as they thought she was making all of the abuse up. She told me she was terrified for her life, and I was her only option. So, I helped her. It turns out it was all a massive scam, so my family could screw with my husband/in-laws. My husband didn't want to hear about my reasoning behind why I helped. He, and his family, were so angry at me for falling for it, and he decided he wanted to separate. I stayed in our marital home because I'm pregnant, and he moved out. However, he comes, and goes from our home as he pleases. It was painful seeing him come over whenever he wanted to whilst he was cold-shouldering me, and would mostly only speak to me through text, and usually he kept the conversations strictly about the baby. So, when my friend offered to let me move into her spare room, I took it. I didn't tell my husband I was moving, and I left the house the day before Christmas Eve. It took my husband until 2 days ago to finally notice I wasn't there anymore. He sent me a text asking me where I was, and I told him I had moved out. He was so furious he finally stopped giving me the cold shoulder, and called me to demand I tell him where I was. He said I was being immature, and I needed to come back home. When I refused, he told me he would find out where I was anyway so I should stop being stubborn, and just tell him to save us both the trouble. I hung up on him after that. My in-laws sent me a bunch of not-so-nice texts, including one where his cousin pretty much threatened me. And then this morning my husband sent me 2 texts, one with my friend's address, and a second asking me to come home so we can fix things. I don't know what to do now. I'm angry at him, but I really don't want to be a single parent, especially since I can't see my family ever forgiving me now that I'll always be tied to my husband/in-laws. What do I do? Here's the first comment. Sorry, but why do you need to come back home, if you're separated? Maybe you should remind him of what being separated means. It sounds like you need to make this legally binding. Get a freaking divorce ASAP, and get a formal custody agreement, and payment for the child. It's really silly to do this informally. You're either not married, or you are. If he wants to stay married, he gets to do the burden of work to reconcile with you. If you don't want to stay married, it doesn't matter what he wants, just get the divorce. Your life clearly has too much drama. Simplify it, create some formal paperwork, and stop doing this half-arsed dance. As an aside, if I were your husband, I would also be extremely upset if you sent our money to a family member we jointly hate, and were VLC with, without discussing it first. Sending your sister what I presume was a lot of money without discussing it with him was definitely very, very wrong of you. But 2 wrongs don't make a right, and how he tried to control you after with a fake separation is also wrong. Too much bad history together by now, just make a clean-cut OP. Edit. Also, why would you want your family to forgive you? OP, your family sucks, and they literally scammed you. They actively built this huge elaborate lie, just to trick you and ruin your life. Why would you consider getting back with them at all? Just cut everyone off, raise your kid in a healthy environment, and not as another poor victim of this horribly manipulative, toxic environment. Here's the next comment. This is scary, and a terrible environment for you, and your baby. I wouldn't go back. You need to also keep all texts and voicemails from these psychopaths. Are there any resources, church, work, friends, you can rely on to help? Here's the next comment. I can imagine a life for you where you follow through with the divorce. You live a life where your child isn't raised with families at war. You take them to the farmer's market, and to the park, holding hands, and laughing, without a care in the world. You guys have a beautiful loving relationship. I see you getting a job, and making enough money to live in a cute apartment with your healthy happy child. I see you falling in love with someone without any drama, someone who loves you, and would never ignore you because they respect you. They teach your child what it means to respect, and love others. Your child never sees the chaos that is the feud of your ex-in-laws, and estranged family. This period of your life seems like a faraway story that happened to someone else. Perhaps one day in your old age, as you hold your older husband's hand, laughing with your child, and their partner, you will tell the tale of espionage these people played with each other. You will tell them how you left the game. They will hug you, and say thank God for the life they lived. And the best part is that you are already on that timeline, you already left. You already established independence. Don't go back. You are enough. You are worthy of a better life. Going back and being in that abuse is harder than anything life can throw at you. Trust yourself. You got this. Here's the next comment. You are truly surrounded by chaos, aren't you? You should have consulted him before giving your sister 1,500, however his reaction is massively disproportionate, especially with the fact of the matter being that your family planned to use your kindness against you to take the money, and cause havoc. You are both separated now, because of his desire for it to be that way, therefore you do not have to stay in the home. His demands that you return, and his family's threats should strengthen your resolve to stay away, not encourage you to find a way to work it out with him. Most abuse in relationships comes after significant markers, like marriage and pregnancy. Not to, tell you what to do. But you should get divorced. It's clear he doesn't respect you, and is willing to let his family threaten you to regain, and reassert control over you. Is that the kind of environment you want your child to grow up in? Frick waiting until you birth the child for him to decide if he wants to really get divorced from you, or whether he can trap you in a situation wherein you become dependent upon him. Visit a lawyer, and move forward with proceedings now. Edit. Also, let this be a lesson to you that your family is just untrustworthy and bad. Go back to no contact with them. Story number 2. Out of a coma and I'm alone. I don't know what I'm looking for by posting this here, but I've got no one else to talk to about this, other than my therapist, and I suppose it's easier to write it down. A few months ago I woke up from a 2-year coma. I was 22, finishing up college, have to retake the last year of course next year, and I had a girlfriend of 2 years, but we were friends since we were 4. She was my best friend. So now that I'm back I guess, I'm, female 24, all my friends have moved across the country or moved on, and my ex-girlfriend is engaged to someone else. I'm happy she was able to move on. I'm also miserable, don't get me wrong, but I'm happy for her. My mother's dead. She died last year. One of my brothers is living in a different country, and my younger brother is off at college 4 hours away from me. I'm living with my dad until I figure my life out. He's great. My therapist says I'm grieving my entire life, and that my feelings are normal. But I feel so lonely. And this pandemic isn't helping because I'm cooped up, and alone. It's so sad I just keep rereading messages from 2 years ago on my phone just to feel like people actually cared about me at some point. It's understandable my friends would move on, but at the same time, I'm here and no one cares. My ex-girlfriend, female 24, visited me when I woke up, and she's planning to visit again soon. She's going to be staying with her parents for a while. She was my friend before anything else. She's making an effort with me. And that's what I want from someone. I don't know what to do because, on the one hand, everyone in my life has basically disappeared. She wants to reconnect. She's the only one who wants to. I know 2 years is a long time, and I'm still in love with her, the version of her 2 years ago, but that's not real anymore. I miss her, and I want her in my life. At the same time, she's going to be married to someone else, and I think it might hurt too much to have her in my life. Here's the first comment. Wow, that's quite the unique situation you've got right there. First of all, I'd like to echo what your therapist said, your grievances are totally legitimate. I guess all I can say is that there's no time like the present. Focusing on the past in this scenario is a good way to make yourself miserable. Don't look through old text messages, don't focus on how people's lives have changed from when you once knew them before you were in a coma. Focus on the positive things you have in your life right now. You have a loving father who is helping you through this, and I think it's really nice that your ex is still reconnecting with you despite having formed a new relationship with someone else. Another big one is that you're finally out of this coma, and can start living your life again. You've been through a lot, but you still have a lot of life ahead of you, and there will be plenty of time to form new friendships and relationships. The people who are truly meant to be in your life will be there when the time is right. Also, the pandemic won't last forever. In the meantime, just count your blessings, focus on your hobbies, find ways to uplift yourself. New relationships will form, I promise. Here's the next comment. This is so backwards to me. Friends moved on from a friendship? Why wouldn't everyone be jumping with joy to have you back? If anything, it would make sense for your ex-GF to try to avoid you since you didn't break up on bad terms, and opening that can of worms is potentially dangerous to her current relationship. Here's the next comment. Weirdly, I make a weekly comic in my local paper about someone who woke up after a long coma. I suggest getting on something like Meetup where there are lots of hobby and interest groups. Even though you can't meet in person, there will probably be a lot of online meetings, and that's a good place to start. Personally, I play in several online role-playing game groups. In healthier times we meet in person, and some of my game friends became real friends years ago. I've also made friends in my drawing/comics group. Connections like that can be great because you always have something to talk about. This sounds counterintuitive, but when you do start making acquaintances, a way to connect is to ask for help with something. Not for someone to fix your life, but asking someone to help you do a small task like repainting a room, or going with you to run an errand, or something like that. It helps to create a bond. People like to help, and being asked to help is a way to be vulnerable, and offer them the chance to show you their generosity. Here's the next comment. Welcome back. And sorry about the pandemic. It's a weird time to be newly awake for sure. I'm glad to hear you are recovering at your dad's, and he is okay to be with. Your needs will evolve, so keep him in the loop, and be sure to let him know what he can do to help. I would look for online resources. Facebook has a group for coma survivors. Video call with your brothers. Also, look for local walking groups, or socially distant activities that will get you closer to nature. I would bet you should be exercising, and walking helps clear the head. As to your amazing best friend, maybe you should go ahead and break up with her. Tell her you suspect she is madly in love with someone else, and you love her so dearly you must set her free to be happy. Going through this as a conscious exercise could give you both some relief. You will then be free to be the best of friends. And it will help move your heart into present time. Here's the next comment. Imagine being in a coma, and waking up to the state of our world. Send me back to sleep, doctor. Thank you for listening.